You know the summer anime season is here when you wake up sweating pissed off at Mother Nature. Yet at the very least, it doesn't come empty-handed, with another lineup of anime spearheading us into the next season. Spring was absolutely overwhelming, and granted of course I say that about 3/4 of the time among the seasonal lineups, but the amount of shows I know people would watch and wanted to keep up with let me know I wasn't going to be alone in the struggle. Fantasy Titans, Shonen Titans, plenty of debuts and out of this world presentations that truly left a mark on the weekends, especially with Witch Hat leading the charge on Mondays. Of course, the real sleeper hit this season being Awajima, but I will get to that later on this month, which by the way, stay tuned for the big seasonal video. Looking ahead, we have another lineup that is, well, just as massive as the spring season. Thank you so much, Japan, you really shouldn't have. I've got my picks and all that good stuff, but please keep in mind that as always, my recommendations and suggestions are subjective. If I overlook anything that you all believe I need to be keeping an eye on, please make sure to let me know in the comments section down below. Before I get rolling, we must start with our continuations. Firstly, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime will be pressing on, as for some reason, the staff behind this anime got a random ticket to hell as they are producing 5 cores. And that's on top of coming off their recent movie. This should last all the way till 2027, but at least Slime fans will stay fed. ReZero will also be having its second core of the 4th season. Keep in mind that there will be a short break in between core 1 and 2, similar to how season 3 was approached. But due to a shorter episode count in core 2, it will end a bit earlier in comparison to the rest of the summer lineup. Finally, Iruma and Daemons of the Shadow Realm will also be pushing on, as their seasons both have 24 episode counts. As always, if you were there for them then, you will continue on with these among the incoming choices. Going into the actual lineup, starting with our isekais, Mushoku Tensei is back with its 3rd season. Rudy, becoming the family man he thought he would never be, is about to get another dose of adventure, and among all the things we should expect based off the trailer, the biggest thing seems to be that Eris will finally return to the story with a brand new design to make up for how much time has passed. Judging by the Volume 2 trailer as well, we should expect to have some episodes dedicated to her whereabouts as well, as she decided to separate from the crew past season 1. Obviously, that monumental ass beating they got from Orsted was definitely PTSD worthy. In her pursuit of strength to never be failed again, I'm looking forward to seeing just how much she has grown and how she will find herself reintegrated back into the story. Of course, I expect the situations to come to be anything but easy, but at least both the emotional parts and the action will be pretty raw, of which will apply to the long-awaited return for Saga of Tanya the Evil as it finally comes back with its 2nd season. 9 whole years after season 1 and 7 years after the last movie, we finally get to return to the battlefield of magical warfare in the sky. This is gonna be interesting because I don't expect a lot of the new age anime fans that came with COVID to know much about this one, but for the long-term fans who have been tuning into the seasonal structure, this series was talk of the town back when it first dropped. I binged it all back in my freshman year, and I had an absolute blast watching somebody 5 apples tall lead the Rainbow Six Siege equivalent of a team through all sorts of missions in fantasy Europe. The movie set up some of that long-term beef, and with seeing the trailer, I expect it to make its way back to the front and center. 4 parts later, and Bleach's 1000-Year Blood War will finally be coming to an end. It's been a tremendously long road for Bleach fans, from dealing with years of misinformation about the anime's disappearance and slander to getting the return that nobody thought was going to happen. Now we can finally put the story of the Soul Society and the Quincy's to rest. I will admit, I am surprised to see just how many L's Ichigo has been taking in this final war. Lost round 1, opening up the path needed to reach the Soul Society for Yhwach, and then not only getting manhandled by the man again, but then thrashed by Uryu as well. In this final stretch, I am equally invested to see how they beat somebody with this level of hacks, but also what the new Bankai will look like now that we have 2 Zanpakutos. Alongside the final batch of fights for those who have yet to show off yet all the way, I'm glad Kubo can finally finish what he started in both mediums now. I expect a lot of additions to compensate for the tough battle he was facing during weekly serialization, and at least now all that waiting and slander will be passed onto the Boruto fandom. As for some season 2s, You and I Are Polar Opposites is coming on back with the next season, which may close out the rest of what hasn't been adapted yet. Of course, don't quote me on that, I have no idea if this will be the case, but given the manga isn't a long long one with just 8 volumes, I think we will be seeing this one out the door nicely. As it stands, this is one of my favorite animes so far this year, a flawless first season that led me to lumping it together with Journal with Witch back in the winter season. Combined with a strong anime adaptation from Lappentrack, they just really get the core amount of fluff you get with watching this series. 2026 has been a major year for Kocha Agasawa, given their Ramparts of Ice adaptation has also been well received. And as people's patience for romance series has been very hit or miss, both of these series seem to land in a very nice spot. All I'm saying is that if the Taira and Azuma ship sails, I'm slapping a fat 10 out of 10 on the series. Elusive Samurai managed to beat the season 2 and Stasis allegations as well, as that'll be coming on back. After the triple airing of romance series last year, Spy X Family can't do all the heavy lifting now from Cloverworks, and Samurai is definitely a worthwhile long-term investment in my opinion. I'm a big fan of Yusei Matsui, given Assassination Classroom is in my top 10 series of all time, and I have no doubt that a historical setting X-Revenge story will deliver in the long run. The first season was a very strong introduction to the story, especially the presentation of both the action and the demonic presence of Tokiyuki's villain. I'm always a fan of the historical setting for these types of stories, especially when you have something like Nippon Son Goku airing right now. There's a certain fire that these tales of reaching monumental heights have that manage to resonate with the anime fan in me. So I hope the reception stays positive, and hopefully the staff hasn't let off the gas either. Now we're moving into the debuts, and up first comes Kyoto Animation popping out once again since the likes of City the Animation with Sparks of Tomorrow. On the heels of the Age of Electricity comes a story of all sorts of hardships and dreams needing to be confronted as a duo seeks to carve out the future they long for, with the electrical catalog being the blueprint. I definitely trust this studio to capture the magic of innovation, as those who are caught up in the whirlwind of such a massive scale of change are bound to have stories that are both captivating and emotional as they seek to triumph over all odds. I think that's something people who are fans of Orb can attest to, in that when challenging everything in front of you, you're in the position to witness an incredibly moving story, showing just how far people will go to see their dreams come true. Need I say more? This is one of the ones I think you all should definitely give the premiere a try and just see how you feel walking out of it, though I highly doubt you'll be disappointed. If you were a fan of Marriage Toxin's adult cast, then don't panic just yet, thinking you'll have to go back to just teen romance, as Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You has you covered. Anime loves to make smoking look like a vibe, even though it's god-awful for you, but what's more is that fanfic writers are about to go insane, as 45-year-old Sasaki comes across a striking woman that leads to them becoming smoking buddies. The twist is that he should know who this woman is, but when has anything been that simple when it comes to anime? Obliviousness leads to that slow burn that'll keep you coming on back, and I have heard fantastic things about the manga as well, so alongside Polar Opposites, I think both sides of the romance scale this season are all covered. While Dandadan continues to cook up one of its biggest arcs yet, A Witch in Mongolia Comes from Science Saru is going to tell one of the more important narratives this summer. This anime sets out to tell a story of loss and rebirth during the era of Genghis Khan. Satara, being our main character, has lost everything: her family, her home, and even her freedom, becoming a slave. Her hope lies in the form of her education upon arriving at a family of scholars. An important quote being, "If you study and become wise, no matter what trouble befalls you, you'll know the best way forward." A powerful statement, as sometimes wisdom is the only thing that keeps a person floating above death. As once again her peace is eventually tarnished, this time Satara will take on the all-consuming empire. A completely different approach with the art style notably, but most of all, I expect this story to really reach deep for people. Just looking at the era we're in now with things like censorship and suppression, there's gonna be some irony here, no doubt. I'm already bracing for the babies who cry woke crowd to potentially lose it over this show, or maybe we'll have the rare occurrence of discourse being avoided entirely. But what I will say is that if you have the will and open-mindedness to give this one a shot, I highly doubt you will regret it. We always gotta remember that animation is a medium for all types of stories, both fictional and mirroring our world. Now, as for the must-watch of the season and the one show you are not going to be able to escape from, we've got Ghost Ghost in the Shell. Another adaptation coming from Science Saru that from my understanding will be telling the more accurate story from the original manga that I have never read given I wasn't even born yet during its time. I know a lot of people are most familiar with the series from the movies, but the Major that we will come to know might end up having a lot more personality on her than we could imagine looking at the trailer. That blue hairstyle and the overall modern retro look for the anime is going to steal the conversation by storm in the most positive ways. When we talk about the pioneers for the cyberpunk era or the stories who truly hold the position of influential, Ghost in the Shell is definitely one of them. And I'm excited more than anything to understand not only the real full context of the story, but to see another player on anime and manga history get a fresh coat of paint in the modern day, especially where so many talented animators and staff are probably enthusiastic to get this one out. Pulling back to the historical period, World is Dancing is another debut coming from Cygames Pictures that is showing the soul of dancing and how it can light up someone's world. Dying art forms, or the ones that need to battle against the times, are the type of stories that just come to life best in the anime to really convey something majestic. We already see this with Akane Banashi and how Rakugo is having to press on in an era where the younger generation is not as interested in it as much. And now we have a young boy named Oniyasha answering the question of why do people dance? The question I'm sure will come to be answered in many ways, from a form of expression to a way of life, and in that we'll embark on a journey for a legacy of theatrical performers to be remembered. I can't say whether or not this will be for everyone, but what I do know is that Cygames Pictures has all eyes on them right now. Coming from the insanely good adaptation of The Summer Hikaru Died and now Kagurabachi on the way next spring, they know how to make some good stuff. And I have zero doubts from the trailer that this will be another instance of greatness on their lineup. Till this day, I haven't felt like something might be ready to carry on the torch that Food Wars created till this season with Iron Walk John. We've got another shonen gourmet coming with competitions of all types of scales, and when the food hits the heat, it's flavor take all. It won't be nearly as ecchi as Food Wars, given there can only be truly one series that captures the experience of eating that perfect first bite. Yet that insatiable desire to be the best in customer satisfaction is a competitive spirit I'm familiar with, and the adaptation looks like it's gonna be a ton of fun. And for my final choice among the summer season, we're looking at Kinema Citrus taking on another modern retro art style approach with Goodbye Laura. Let me tell ya, Japan absolutely loves the things they can do based off The Little Mermaid. Whether it's Ghibli's Ponyo or Studio Wit's Bubble, this isn't the first time we've had an anime take a spin at The Little Mermaid with some magical differences. And this time, we're getting the what if Ariel died and was reborn 200 years later in the modern day version of the story. This has been a project that I've been keeping a massive eye on for some time now. Visually, it's just really appealing, and it gives me that perfect Saturday cartoon you'd wake up and watch kind of vibe. I'm expecting this story to overall cater more to the human world and work its way back to the ocean, because we all know forbidden wishes aren't without consequences. But this is going to be the second definite watch that I think you all should check out this season. I really believe that both aesthetically and overall, it is going to be a beautiful adaptation that I am also hoping to put on my big list at the end of the year for, but only time will tell. That being said, this will be all my picks for the upcoming summer season. If anything, the debuts this go around have me a lot more excited in comparison to what may be returning. And even then, I'm sure there's plenty of shows that I didn't even mention that will end up on my list. There should be plenty to look forward to going into this transition, and hopefully something out there for everybody. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, is gonna bring me to the end of this one. As always, thank you very much for watching, and be sure to let me know all that you plan to watch in the comments section down below. Stay cool and hydrated out there, and I will see you all in the summer season.